Alright, before we get started on the next video, this is the ending to the last video about the tail cone skins. And I had a question on here about these being 41s or 42s. And I found a contradiction. So here it says, bulkheads S4 to S10 AAPQ41. Now it does kind of point to just the lower part of the bulkhead. So that'd be station 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 should all be 41s. That's how I understood it. And we ended up doing 42s here, which is actually correct, because if you look in the parts manual, very small here, the number 12s are 42s. So for those wondering, 42s, these ones are 41s, these three up here, because they go through a just one skin. Then I did go back and replace the ones that go into the tangs with, it's just paper towels on there, wet, riveted, primed, stainless steel, CCPQ 42s. All right. After my rivet, I don't know, wouldn't call it a dilemma, but fix, I sourced the next parts. I was reading up on the manual, watching some videos, and I got out the bottom skin. So this bottom skin was in pretty rough shape. Looks like it had a rough initial life. So I cleaned it all up. I got all the stickers off of it, and there was, I don't know, weird markings and etchings on it. So cleaned that up. I found these side skins, and what they tell you to do is to flip it over and work upside down. I don't know if I'll be able to do that. What I'm going to try and do is actually just move it over so I have access to the bottom, and we'll give that a try. If not, I'll call for help and flip it. Alright, so I marked this 3/4 inch back, like they said. You can tell it's right on the shadow line. And I also marked the center going all the way down. So I know they say to center it between the tubes, but I also like to center it that way. So far it worked out pretty good. I love my little foam yoga blocks. They allow me to move the stuff around, and then these carts, that worked out great too. This is actually helped hold up the bottom skin. One thing that surprised me is how far this overlaps underneath here, because yeah, I want to say it's like a good 2 inches, but it actually, even according to this, is supposed to reach all the way to the back tangs, which are the ones on this spacer strip here. So that makes sense. I think I'm gonna check it a couple of times and transfer drill these and start cleaning it in. One thing I was a little confused about is you would assume that you would center this cutout with the strut bolt, but that makes this cutout way off. The same thing on the other side, so that one I don't have centered, but not sure if I should center it with this or center it with this. It seems to fit better being centered with this, and I can always Dremel that out, but we'll verify that as I get closer. Alright, there's a couple of things that came to realization. One is I maybe overstating the obvious, but the cage is not 100%. Like, this is off if you measure it from the firewall, just enough to make me question, you know, these welds here. These things are close in this distance, and this is the same, but somehow the spacing's a little different on the other side, like I talked about. So what I did is, I don't know, I'll probably remeasure it and then just make them so they're all the same size, or at least they don't look wrong. I was struggling with getting these to line up, and one thing I noticed, I don't know if you, probably hard to tell with the camera, but these will actually, like, you push it in on this side, and then you push it in on this side, and it pushes it back out on the other side. You see this high spot right here? Well, that is where all the welds are. So I'm thinking of actually doing a relief cut like they have here, but underneath there, because I'm not going to put any rivets underneath there anyway. So that's one thing that I think I'm going to do. And then, you know, it'll have a little bit of a bend to it. The other thing was, and it was especially bad on the other side, was it actually dented the skin going out these tabs. Let me pull this out. So this weld blob was so bad that it wouldn't let this sit flat. So I know that they tell you, you know, take the highest spot and then put a bunch of spacers, but I thought that was kind of silly. So I ground that down a little bit and primed it. And the same thing here. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's probably one down here. And then the other thing, I'm trying to get these to line up. So for what it's worth, I went from the end of this skin 1.5 inches back, and that seems to be a pretty good space. I did have this be a little bit loose on top, which caused it to push down here. So I just took it off again. I literally just rolled it. I mean, metal does bend, with my hands just to tighten it up, and that pulled it up here, and sits actually pretty good. Like, still a little loose there, so I can actually bend that myself. You know, it's not easy, but you can work it in. And speaking of bending, you know, everybody's talking about putting spacers and washers and stuff in like that. So this was almost 3/16 or almost 1/4 inch, so it's not in all the way. But basically, I just massaged the tab out a little bit, and, you know, bent it out and then bent it back up again so it's flush, so the angle is the same. You know, just very gently. It's metal. And I think that's a lot easier than making spacers. Just bend the tabs till they fit. That's what I came up with so far. So the gap on the bottom here, I can get super tight. On the top, there's probably going to be about a 1/16. Doesn't matter how you do it, you know, unless you start sanding this piece open and slide that back. It's going to be a 1/16 of an inch. I just basically want it to look uniform. All right, let's see if I can demonstrate this. I did this on the other side and it worked perfectly. This tab is about a good 3/16 of an inch in, also because the way it lines up with this skin. So these knife X pliers, which are completely parallel and flat, work great. So I kind of just grabbed it like this and gently bent that out, trying to keep it level. And grab it like this. And that up again so it's parallel. Make sure it's straight. May or may not be enough. This one's a little bit less. This one was pretty close to good. All right, I got the skin back on. And yeah, it's still a little gap, but you know, as soon as you put the rivet in it, that'll pull it in nicely. So yeah, happy with that. Time to cut some stiffeners. I do have the ones that came from RANS, but I don't know why. I like the Home Depot ones better. I'm gonna cut one of these. I'm not sure if I'll use it or not. Alright, so that works pretty good. What I do is I basically put the plane on this front cart that rolls back and forth. It's actually just sitting on these yoga blocks. I have some yoga blocks underneath the back there, supporting station 9 and 10. And I made all my spacers. So what I did, I just dropped the floor down, and now I'm gonna make exact lines for all the spacers. I call them spacers. I meant stiffeners. I don't know if I talked about this yet, but basically I made these out of just aluminum square stock and angled the edges, and yeah. As usual, I'm overthinking this, trying to see if the thick black area is the vertical side. From what I can tell, it kind of seems to be, even though videos that I just watched, people are doing them different ways. I'm gonna go with the thick black piece being the vertical side, because the center one there needs to be spaced away, and that one has a thick side, so that's what I'm doing. One little thing I noticed, this is kind of the blue line. I like using these different color markers, by the way. I got a red, a blue, and a black. And the blue line is where the cage sits. And then the black lines are the center lines for this. And it says to put minimum of 1 inch, but if I do 1 inch, it makes it really, really tight. Like if I were to move this, you know, to clear that 1 inch on the bottom. I'm not sure if that matters or not, but it makes it really tight on this end. So I think I'm gonna trim, you see the red line, that angle off, and I might do the same thing on this one just to allow a little bit of space. And yeah, that was that. Stringers, overly complicated. Stringers, sorry. Stiffeners, supports. So I ended up cutting these down to 3/8 times 1/2 inch, because I had some interference, get it? Fear of interference, of these compared to the RANS ones that are 3/8 times 1/2 inch. So now, because I like to waste more time, I'm actually going to try the difference between the tape adhesion with adhesion promoter and without. And while I'm at it, I'm actually trying 2 different tapes. There's the VHB that comes with it, and also at work we use a lot of the Tesa tape, also acrylic. It's a little bit thinner. And I'm going to try Tesa with, Tesa without, 3M with, and 3M without, and we'll see which one holds the best. Totally unnecessary, but I like to have fun, and I give it a whirl. Alright, here we are. 24 hours later, I applied pressure, all the same, and gonna see if I can get any of these off. Okay, so that is Tesa with adhesion promoter. This is Tesa without. So it looks like the tape actually broke on this one. And then this is the 3M high bond stuff. Very high bond with adhesion promoter. So yeah, the tape actually sticks to both sides and separates. This is the 3M without adhesion promoter. So the adhesion promoter definitely makes the tape the weak point, not the surface that it's stuck to. So without the adhesion promoter, it came clear off one side, and all these sides are treated the same. Clean them with a Scotch-Brite pad and some rubbing alcohol, and then 2 of the slots with adhesion promoter and the other one without. Interesting. Oh, so the conclusion is I mean, they all came off. I had 1 inch on there. So just peeling it, the adhesion promoter, which is tape primer 3M, definitely helps. Like I have trouble getting this off of the aluminum. It probably does come off, but and that goes for both tapes. And the 2 tapes I was using was the Tesa thin acrylic tape versus the 3M VHP, the thicker acrylic tape. So if you want a good bond, I recommend the tape primer. So I have the acrylic tape from the finishing kit, which is only 12 feet, and I think we need like 14 or 18 feet to do all these. Anyway, we got them all done. George came over and actually helped do the spacing for all of the side panels, so we got all that done, which is cool. Now I gotta basically just transfer drill them. But back to the tape, I have everything taped down except for those side ones over there, and then these 2 here. So this is from the finishing kit, and I don't know yet what this is for, but obviously there's supposed to be an 18-foot roll for the fuselage kit. It's MIA, so I gotta order it. And then to add insult to injury, as I got to the end of this tape, the red stuff kind of let go and the sides were sticking to itself, so it was just getting into a big stringy mess and I couldn't apply them neatly to that. But the rest of them are all nice and rock solid, so I'm happy with that. So we transfer drilled all of those, and this night could have quickly turned into not such a good thing. I was drilling these along here with a little block of wood pushing on the inside. Well, guess once I got to the bottom, my arms are only so long, and I didn't hit the wood. It went right on my finger. So first casualty of the project. It was like 1/8 inch drill bit or number 30. went through the metal, you know, just a little bit of tension, a nice sharp bit right into my finger. So that hurt. Anyway, then I almost had another casualty, and this is much worse because the plane would have gotten hurt. And this is crazy because these bits, I use these inside this screwdriver to get into this particular one because everything's in the way here, and you can bend like a 12-inch drill bit around it, but I don't know, that worked better. So I was drilling from the inside out while holding a block on the other side. But I went to grab this, I don't know if you can read it, I'll zoom in, but this clearly says Milwaukee 1/8 and compare it to the DeWalt 1/8. And I'm looking at it, I said, oh, it's way too big. So 1/8 is just a hair bit smaller than the number 30 that you're supposed to use. So my plan was to drill it from the inside out with the 1/8 and then just ream it out or drill it with the 30 thousandths. Yeah, if you measure this 1/8, okay, literally 1/8, right on the money. This 1/8, I don't know where Milwaukee gets their labeling from, but that's definitely wrong. So one more thing, I don't know if this is of any help to anybody, but I had this corner just kind of, I'm trying to get these, you know, as flush as possible so there's no buckling of the skin. I don't think it says in the manual anywhere that you're supposed to edge form these, but I am going to edge form them anyway because everything else is edge formed. But here, what I did is I make these wooden blocks. They're just handy to have for all sorts of spacers. So I lifted the plane up and I just put a little bit of tension on this skin because, like I said, this is kind of bent short from RANS, so it has a tendency to push out. So I put that on there and then just push this back in. Well, it's kind of hard to show, like it was buckled out a little bit more before. And then I drilled the last hole on the inside with tension on it on the, you know, so once the rivet goes in, it'll hold it in. But I thought that was kind of helpful. I did a similar thing here where I just kind of pushed the last rivet in, you know, so there's a little bit of tension on this one going in and this one going out so you don't have a lip. And did the same thing on this side. So, oh yeah, I don't have a rivet in that one. But that came out really nice. I ended up rounding this corners over. I've seen a couple of people do it a couple of different ways, but I had interference here, so I rounded that corner over. I'm kind of surprised. I think it would look good if RANS just cut it this way rather than that way, but truth is when it's all finished and painted, you'll probably never pay attention to it. I did drill out this one. I have to take a closer look, but I guess maybe the rivet inside won't be that bad, but it does come very close. Like my drill bit actually hit the frame structure in there, so I gotta take a look at that. I think once the rivet pulls, it'll be fine. The other side, I'm not sure how close it is, but I didn't feel it hitting that. Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, it is pretty close. I guess I did nick it a little bit. And I still got to drill the middle one on there. And then I put little notes for myself. Like this, it's tight, but if you're careful, you can roll it just a little bit tighter. So now that it's all fit up, I'm gonna just kind of roll it tighter. And I don't know if this makes any sense, is to put some acrylic tape underneath here, you know, just to keep it even tighter, or is that overkill? But I don't know, these are the things that are going through my head. And like I said, I was short on the tape, so I just put these in place so I don't forget about them. And yeah, I think that's it for now. Good night, Happy New Year.